Hi guys, and welcome to our first ride with the all-new Triumph Daytona 660. If you want to know more about this bike, stay tuned. Yes, the Triumph Daytona is back, and it's back in the road sports category. In other words, these sporty motorbikes for the road up to 95 HP. And at the beginning, when it was introduced, I read your comments and many said, well, is that still a Daytona or is that no longer one? And I've just spoken to Triumph and asked them what their response is to these comments. And I was told, well, on one hand, if you look back in history, the Daytona was actually always more of a road bike. It was only with the 675 that it became a thoroughbred super sports bike. In other words, it stood out a bit. And on the other hand, Triumph said, well, you have to look at the market because the competition is also focusing on such motorbikes, which are more road orientated up to 95 HP, that are affordable, sporty, but also score points in everyday life. And I have the all clear for you, especially those who say it's still not a Daytona. The people who designed the last 675 also designed this motorbike. And I have to say personally, I think it's beautiful. It really is a very elegant, dignified motorbike, as you would expect from Triumph, with those beautiful twin headlights at the front. I like it very much. I have it here in front of me in gray, which is an optional color, just like the red color. Only the white color is basic, which means you don't have to pay anything for it. And personally, I would even go for white. It looks even more elegant. Speaking of surcharges, let's get straight to the subject of price, because I think that's very exciting. In this class, the street athlete, as I call it, is very competition orientated. This means that prices are important, and the Daytona costs from 9,195 euros in Germany. Then there are the dealer-specific delivery costs. And in Austria, it costs 10,695 euros. And that puts you pretty much in the middle of the field, and you want to target the competition, such as the Yamaha R7, Suzuki GSX-8R, or Honda CBR 650R. The aim was to challenge this class, but with an innovation and a unique selling point in this class, namely the 3-cylinder engine. The Daytona 660, which is based on the Trident and the Tiggo Sport, also belongs to this family, is not unfamiliar when you hear the name, but the engine has been completely revised for the Daytona 660. We are talking about 9 cylinders, cylinder head, crankshaft, airbox, cooling, exhaust system, gearbox. Everything has been revised to provide an independent engine for the Daytona 660, which now also has more power, 95 HP and 69 Nm of torque. I also asked whether this engine configuration will also be available in the Trident in the future. They said no, not really, because the Daytona should have a unique selling point. The Daytona is the sportiest in the family, and that's why it has the most powerful engine. What is the same as the Trident, unfortunately, I have to say, is the quick shifter, which is not included as standard. You have to pay extra for it. So in terms of engine alone, it is the sportiest family, but also in terms of ergonomics. I'm 1.75 meters tall. I sit here on the 810 millimeters high seat, and then I can see the handlebar ends right in front of me. We don't just have high handlebars, but slightly raised handlebar ends. And when I lean forwards here, I realize that it's a sporty bike in this category. I recently rode the Suzuki GSX-8R for comparison, and it was a bit more relaxed. You're already tense on the handlebars due to this long tank, which has also been redesigned. It looks uncomfortable, but we cycled 170 kilometers today, and I had no trouble with my wrists afterwards. You should tighten your stomach muscles a bit. Yes, I have abs too, even if it doesn't look like it, but that said, it's an everyday setup, but still focused on athleticism. When I look ahead here, I still have the display in front of me. This is a familiar unit from the Tiggo Sport 660 and the Trident. It's a combination of a TFT display and LC display. I think it looks a little lost here in this beautiful large front of the Daytona 660, but it is still functional enough, so it's easy to read. I have my speed at the top and the engine speed, and then I can switch through the menu at the bottom of the TFT display to display the functions I want, like the riding modes, for example, because this is also a new feature of the Daytona 660. We now have 3 riding modes on board. Previously, it was just road and rain. But the Daytona now also has an integrated sport mode. What does that mean? Each riding mode has its own characteristic map for throttle response and traction control. The traction control can also be completely deactivated if you wish, but you will notice while you are driving that the throttle response becomes sharper and sharper. So we didn't have any rain today. You can see it above me. The sky is blue. Wonderful weather here near Alicante. We're not yet in the south of Spain, but that means we were actually only traveling in road and sport. And you could already tell the differences, that the throttle response is a bit sharper in sport mode, and above all, that the traction control allows more. So some of the roads were quite clean. You notice that the rear end does a little slide. And then, yes, it's actually really enjoyable, especially when you use this 3-cylinder engine. I also have to say briefly about traction control. It tried a lot in road mode, and the traction control kicks in earlier, but I think you hardly notice it. All I ever noticed was, okay, something is flashing on the display. The traction control is working, but it's very, very finely tuned and doesn't really interfere with driving once you use it. But drive, I'm talking about driving. How was our driving today? Well, as I said, we had about 170 kilometers here through the mountains near Alicante. And I have to say, Triumph has once again pulled out all the stops. The Daytona is a wonderful package that rides really well. This 3-cylinder, now with its extra power, has simply taken that goodness that it already had in the Trident and improved it again. So you can really use this engine between 2,000 and 12,000 revs, where the rev limiter kicks in shortly afterwards. And it is simply incredibly elastic. I actually found myself often driving these winding roads in 3rd gear because this engine simply works very cleanly from the bottom. The throttle response is very, very smooth. And then at the top, you have a firework of sound. The 3-cylinder engine really is a dream. Thanks to the revised airbox, we have an even nicer sound at the intake. I particularly like that. I don't need a big exhaust that makes a noise. I want intake noise, and that's what I have here on the Daytona. So you really have a very emotional engine, but one that is also suitable for shifting gears. Unfortunately, we didn't have the quick shifter fitted. Triumph says they don't want to install any optional extras in the press tests so that we can test this bike as it comes. I think that's a good approach. But I would have liked to try the quick shifter because it works very well on the Trident. And I dare to say that it's worth the extra cost here too. Apart from that, the suspension has also been slightly revised compared to the Trident. We have a 41mm Showa upside down fork at the front, separate function big piston. This is not adjustable, but the Showa shock absorber is adjustable in spring preload. And in this class in particular, it has to be said, manufacturers always have to make compromises because they want to combine cool design and a sporty look with suitability for everyday use. And you notice the same in the chassis, which is already sporty enough for such beautiful country road tours. But when it gets faster and then there are cross joints in the long bend, then you notice, I think especially on the shock absorber, which is tuned more comfortably, but it still has a clear advantage over the Trident, which I find even spongier. So you can say that the suspension is just as suitable for everyday use as the seating position, but it has that extra spice when it comes to sportiness. The brakes were also completely okay. We have a double 310 disc at the front with radial 4-piston brake calipers. Triumph couldn't or wouldn't really tell us who made the brakes. So they said they worked with a specialist from the industry for these brake blocks, but they are branded by Triumph, so they are produced in-house, so to speak. And they also simply fit this motorbike because they offer a nice response behavior. The brake lever is even adjustable at the front, but they're not overly sharp, so they work well, have a nice response, and really give this bike that safe touch that you want on a bike like this. Because a lot of people will ride this bike, not only experienced motorcyclists will ride it, but also beginners. Because the Daytona with its 95 HP is of course A2 compliant. In other words, you can have it throttled down to 48 HP with the dealer so that you can ride this beautiful motorbike from the age of 18. Of course, I should also mention that a motorbike with a full fairing also has the advantage of providing a little wind protection. I looked at it while riding. I've already seen the tear-off edge. I'm also still under my helmet. That means I still have quite a bit of wind in my face, but compared to the naked bike, you can tell that it's much more comfortable here when it's cooler. Above all, we also had the heated grips on today. They're also an optional extra because they just thought, yes, you spoiled journalists, you need the heated grips, we're going up into the mountains. So let's strap them on. Yes, But apart from that, the Daytona 660 is a really nice package. It also comes with the new Michelin Power 6 as standard, which means an ultra-modern tire for an ultra-modern motorbike. And I have to say, it has taken the good qualities that I really appreciated on the Trident and just made it a bit sportier, and that's exactly what I want in a motorbike like this. I want something that looks nice but isn't too extreme so that I can ride this motorbike every day. And now I also want to give my opinion. Is it still a real Daytona? Is it worthy of the Daytona name? I would say yes, definitely, because the Daytona used to be a sporty motorbike, even on the road, for everyone and not just for people who want to be on the track all the time. Because this motorbike, let's be honest, you get on it, ride to the track day, do a few wonderful turns, have fun, and then ride home again in comfort. So I think the Triumph Daytona 660 has really enriched this class of road sports bikes up to 95 HP. The 3-cylinder is even better than before. The look is a dream. And of course, the Daytona quality is there too. So if you look at this motorbike, I can't really find an angle from which it doesn't look beautiful. Now, of course, the question is for you. What do you think of the new Daytona 660? Would you like Triumph to make the same package but with the 765 engine? Then let me know in the comments, because I know that Uli from Triumph Germany will be watching this video. So direct feedback to Triumph in the comments as well, and leave me another thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our other videos, because it's spring. We have lots of tests in store for you. It can only get better. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day, have a nice evening. Stay on it. See you soon. Bye bye.